This is 7 things that I wish I knew about Word before I started college. There are 2 ways to do this that I know. This first one's going to be my favorite, my go-to way. What you're going to do is you're going to hit Shift 8, you're going to type an asterisk, then you hit space, and it starts bullet points for you. If you're taking notes, if you're doing something similar, you can type Tab and then Shift Tab to get back to the other size, and this allows you to have distinct headers. So let's say I was in class, and we're talking about log normal regressions, and we can say, here's how log normal regressions are used, and then we switch topics, and then we're talking about economic distributions of, economic normal distributions. And this is just a quick way to get to different kinds of bullet points, have different headers without really looking at your machine. Super useful if you have a professor who's going fast or if they're working off of slides and you just need to type notes. It is also worth noting that this works with dash. Something that's pretty useful and also pretty well known on Word, but it took me a bit to figure out on Mac. So let's say you're looking up a quick definition on the internet and you want to copy and paste it in. Let's say I'm in a history course and we're talking about a historic war. We'll say we're talking about the Civil War. I have a question about the Battle of Gettysburg, and I go to look it up. I go to look up the date. And now Google gives me this nice big date that I can copy and paste in, but the problem is as soon as I copy and paste it in, I get the different formatting settings, which is really annoying, especially if you're trying to go fast in class. What you can do is you can hit Command Option Shift V, or on Windows hit Control Shift V, and you can paste in without the formatting that comes from the web. This one is for my STEM majors, anyone dealing with math, maybe chemistry. This is how to type superscripts and subscripts with the shortcuts instead of going up to the top menu and clicking in here. Let's say I'm working with a math equation and I have to do x squared plus y to the third. Now you can type it like this and it makes sense reading it, but it looks a little nicer with the sub and superscripts. So on Mac, you go Command Shift plus and that gives you a superscript, and you can say x squared, and then Command Shift plus returns you back to normal. Or you can just do Command plus for subscripts. So if I'm typing a chemical and I say H2O, that is how you get the subscript. On Windows, it's Control Shift plus and Control plus respectively for both of them. And this is just a good way to clean up your notes along the way. This fourth one is one that I just started using myself and just started experimenting with. If you have ever seen a really long PDF document or Word document and you've seen this table of contents that hyperlinks out, this is how you can do that without having to click through the menus and going to heading 1, heading 2, and clicking with that. Now on Mac, it is Command Option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get the different heading levels. So if I do Command Option 1, you get heading 1, Command Option 2, heading 2, and you can see it changing in that menu up top. And you can say heading 3. And in Windows, this is Control Alt 1. And then now let's say you're already in the heading and you want to go back to normal text. That is Command Shift N, and this is your normal text. And on Windows, it is Control Shift N. I mentioned another way to get to a bulleted list earlier, and that's what you're looking at here. If you hit Command Shift L, that is the text to get into the bullets. And then if you want to do it on Mac, it's Control Shift L. Once you have these headings, if you want to insert the table of contents, you go to References, Table of Contents, pick your style and insert it, and then you've got the headings laid out there with the different size. And then let's say that I had another heading that I put in. This is heading 1.2. Now it's not showing up here, but what I can do is right click, update field. If I do update page numbers only, it just updates the page numbers clearly, and then the other one updates the entire table, and we see that secondary heading come in. I have copied and pasted in a section of my actual notes to go through this, and so I'll show you guys this. I'm going to do my best to cover both Mac and Word. So first and foremost, let's say you're at the top of the document and you wanted to head over to a different line. If you use the arrow keys, it hops down. A lot of people know this. But if you want to head to the end of a line on Mac, hit the Command key and go right, left arrow, and that puts you as far forward or far back as it can. If you start in the center, it goes all the way to the end or all the way to the right. Now on Windows, you can do this with the home and the end keys. So if you hit home, it brings you to the head of the line, and if you hit end, it brings you to the end of the line. You can also do this while holding Shift, and this highlights the section. So if I'm in the center of this line here and say I don't want the front end of this anymore, I can hit Command Shift and delete, and it goes over. And then once you have that selected, if you hold Shift and hit the down arrow, you will also continue to highlight lines below. Now let's just say you're looking to navigate word by word. I'm in the middle of this word observed and I want to go over to the end of multi. On Mac, if you hold Option and then click the left or right arrows, you can jump from word to word. On Windows, it's Alt. Again, I can hit Shift when I'm doing this and I can highlight a whole section and I can change it to time period. I don't know, you can use it practically in your different examples and the ways that you would do things here. And what this helps you do is move around your Word document faster and be able to get to different points and take different notes without needing to look at different things. This next tip is how to use hyperlinks to keep your documents looking clean and tidy and not have really big long URLs. Now let's say I'm taking notes and we're looking at economic forces and economic pressures in different systems. So I would say economic forces explanation. Now if this is a section that I know I'm going to have to review a bit, I might hop over to YouTube and just pull a link to a tutorial or a breakdown video. And here's a crash course video, so maybe this is just a good review for me. So I come over here, and instead of just putting a link at the end, having that big long URL, I can use a hyperlink. I use my word tricks from the previous explanation, and I say, okay, I'm at the end of the line, I'm going to hit Command Shift and go all the way to the side, highlight the whole line, Command K, Control K, brings up your hyperlink menu, and you can copy it right in, and now you have just a really clean, simple link. This next one I use a bit when I'm explaining different topics or linking different things but don't want to use an equal sign, or an equal sign doesn't make sense. So maybe I'm doing a definition. So I'm looking to define the word computer. Now I'm going to go back, computer definition, and we're going to use that similar. I'm going to copy and paste the definition, use it without the formatting. I'm going to hit Command Alt Shift V, and then I have my definition. And let's say maybe I don't want to use a dash, or a dash doesn't feel correct. If I hit dash dash, and then a greater than or equal sign, depending on the direction you're pointing, you get a big arrow. And this can be useful if you're moving fast and want to tie in topics. Again, there are two ways to do it. If you want the right arrow, it is a dash dash and then the greater than sign. And then if you want a left arrow, it is the less than sign and then a dash dash. And those are our 7 tips, but if you stick around, I have 2 bonus tips, one for Windows, one for Mac. The first one is really great if you are a world language student. I studied Spanish, I have a minor in Spanish, and oftentimes I needed to write accents. If you're on Mac, they're actually super easy. If you hit the Option key and then E, that gives you the accent in Spanish, and then you can say, okay, I would need that accent on a U. And there's a bunch of these. So let's say you needed an umlaut, you have the double points there now. If you hit Option U, and then you can put the letter underneath it. Similarly, if I need an enye, Option N, and there's the enye, you can put it there. Now there is a somewhat comparable system for Windows. It's not my favorite, but they're the alt codes, and you need a numpad. You have to memorize a bunch of different keystrokes, which is the frustrating part. Honestly, when I was using Word, I more often than not just copy and pasted them from Google. This last one, as far as I know, only works on Word, but it's super helpful. It's helpful just beyond being a student, but it's also awesome when you're in your early career. So if I'm in Word and I hold the Alt key, then you get these letters that pop up on screen, and this helps you navigate into the menu. Now, if I want to do this and demo this, let's hold Alt, and then you see the different lines. Let's say I need to insert something, I hit N. Say I want to insert a table, hit T. Say I want to customize it, hit I and go to Insert Table, and I want it to have 6 columns, 10 rows, and then everything else stays the same. Hit enter and there's my table. And what ends up happening is you get pretty fast with these. So let's say I have a paragraph here, and I have it, and I want to make this text larger. So the text is highlighted, Alt H, and then I want to make it larger, FG. Makes it larger, Alt H, FG. Now let's say I want to set it to a specific thing, Alt H, FS does font size, and then I can do 25 and hit enter and it changes it. And this helps you really navigate fast and update documents without needing to use your mouse and navigate the ribbon manually. If you have any essential tips that you use that you didn't see in this video, I would love to see them down below. I would love to learn more, and hopefully other people can learn from them too.